Welcome. This is the Bird's Eye View, and I am the War Duck, and I am back as always with Mr. Krow right over here.
Hello, everybody.
And there's a lot going on in the world. As you know, right now, Russia has invaded Ukraine and has sparked the largest conflict since World War II.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
Very unique times, and it's definitely something different.
You know, there's a lot of people that think he's like lost it.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that, like
because
that he's lost it. But
because what is he trying to accomplish is what does he think he's going to accomplish? Because let's just say he succeeds and takes Ukraine, which is not a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, he controls one of the larger nuclear power plants, and he controls all of Ukraine's oil.
Yeah.
I've
heard a lot about the oil.
Yeah, they are just going to sanction them to hell until they're like North Korea and they can't afford to do anything.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
And the only ally they have is like Belarus, which I don't know what the hell they do. And then you got China.
Which I've heard, based on how China is acting, that one's on the fence. Like,
yeah.
it's just what I've heard. I no facts behind it. It's just what I've heard, as they're based on some of the actions that they are and are not taking.
Well, and see, here's the thing is China right now is in a position where they can say, we're not really involved in it. But if they start furnishing aid to Russia to help this conflict, then they start risking worldwide sanctions and trade and airspace and all this other stuff. Then all of a sudden you start messing with people's money. That's really what it's all about, right? You start messing with people's money because right now NATO and the world is going around confiscating these Russian billionaires' yachts and shit. In fact, I just saw Italy confiscated a $168 million yacht from somebody, some Russian oligarch. I'm assuming that means like billionaire, rich person. I don't know what oligarch is exactly, but
yeah. And you mentioned that too. And just yesterday, something came up on something I don't remember exactly what I was reading. So one of my social medias, and I said, my wife was next to me, and I was like, holy crap, like they have just put a huge bounty on Putin's head. And like, she's like, oh yeah, now that there's a lot of rich people who are now putting a bounty on his head. And I'm like, what's going on? Like,
now that's super dangerous, because you want to talk about sparking some serious issues.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would definitely put nuclear footing on some serious watch lists and stuff, and that's definitely not where we want to go. But so remember there was a guy that he was always in fact Elon Musk asked him to stop, would pay him to stop. He was always tracking Elon Musk's plane everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that guy is now tracking all the Russian oligarchs' yachts and stuff.
Oh wow.
And so now like all the countries know where these guys' yachts are, and everybody's they're trying to, get their yachts away so people don't confiscate them. So like people are very invested in this whole thing because it is such a weird thing that in our generation that we've never seen and never dealt with. We've never really dealt with people on that caliber trying to overtake a whole country.
Yeah, it's definitely very weird.
Now, what brought this all up from the get-go was one of the headlines that we found was Americans and Canadians answering Ukraine call for foreign fighters. Now, before we get into this article, I just want to say that Russia has declared all non-Ukrainian foreign fighters arrested in Ukraine or surrounding areas will be treated as terrorists and criminals and not under the Geneva Convention and not treated as POWs. They will not get POW recognition.
Ooh.
So there's the caveat of that is Ukraine's asking for people to come over. Americans and Canadians are answering the call. But if those people are captured, they will be treated as terrorists and as criminals. And that's a significant...
that's a big change.
That's a significant... Yeah, it's a significant branch from how they would treat you if you are captured. So it's a big deal. Now, this article, they talk about a software developer and a cook from British Columbia are among dozens of Americans and Canadians answering Ukraine's call for foreign volunteers to fight Russian invasion. And we'll put a link to this article. I don't want to get too far into this article. This guy Dax, he says, "I feel guilty not to go." A veteran of the elite U.S. Army 82nd Airborne Infantry Division, who plans to deploy with other former U.S. military personnel and like many volunteers. The Alabama Navy declined to give his full name, of course. The point I wanted to make with this is not a guy that hasn't seen combat. This is not some Joe Schmo that just couldn't make it in the military wanting to go over and be a fighter. That's not what Ukraine is asking for.
No, they're asking for experience.
Yeah, they want prior military and combat experience.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of people that just think, oh, well, I'm going to go over there and be a hero. And, and so I'm going to, because I watched a video the other day of these guys kind of like training and they're like showing them how to shoot an AK and like where the safety is and stuff. And I'm like, okay, these are not the guys these are not the guys you want going over there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly the point. There's a huge difference from somebody that has been trained for combat and has experienced combat versus somebody that has not and thinks they're ready.
Yeah.
Right? And what you do if you haven't been trained or you haven't experienced it, basically, you are the weak link, and you are the one that's going to get yourself and everybody else you're with killed.
Yeah, your instincts, muscle memory, as I like to call it a lot, are a little bit different compared to those who
your
have
life,
experience and training.
Your life or death. Yeah. Because let's be honest, is you take Joe Schmo and you drop him in the middle of a combat, and he thinks he's G.I. Joe Rambo or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, the bullet zips by his head and the person next to him is killed.
Yep.
That's when that person's flight or fight reaction starts to dictate itself.
Yep.
A lot of people will just freeze and crawl up into a ball, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
Or they'll just stay there and freeze because they don't know what to do. That is why the active duty military trains all the time.
Yeah.
Is so when stuff is happening, you are not thinking, you are overriding fight or flight with training. Yeah. This is what you do. This is where you go. This is the voice that you key into when they're directing where they want you to do or what they want you to do.
Hollywood's cool and all, but this is no Hollywood moment.
Right. This isn't the family dad that finds the gun and goes and saves his family and shoots everybody up, and it's not like that. It's a whole different ball game when bullets and blood and stuff is happening and people are dying. So like I said, I'll leave a link to this particular article that talks about these particular people going and what they said and how they feel about it and their reasons for going. I think you should read it. It's very interesting to see how people are deciding to put their life on the line to go and do things, right? People have, like, especially this military guy, like, he has this internal, there's a reason he went in the military. There's a reason he's done different tours in Afghanistan and other things, right? He has that thing that makes him go fight for what's right and stuff. But he has the experience and the capability to do it, and that's not what everybody has, and that's fine. Like, combat is not for everybody. It just isn't. Yeah. Now the other part of this story is, if you are a military veteran, you do have some combat experience, or maybe you have the medical training to be a combat lifesaver or some kind of trauma center stuff, and you feel the need to go help, there are steps you must take. The first one is applying to the embassy of Ukraine from your own country, and with the intention of joining the Foreign Legion of Territorial Defense of Ukraine. The second one is you have to have, your ID, you have to have your passport. And like I said right here, they're asking for documents confirming military service or work with law enforcement agencies and participation in combat. See, that's not...
That's a number 2. Like, prove who you are, and now prove your resume. Like,
right.
Show us what you've done. They're not asking for just Joe Schmo.
Right. This is a very, very serious thing. This isn't, I want to go play Rambo and be a hero. That's not what this is about.
Yeah. This is a very serious thing. Yeah, I can't stress
Number 3, arrive at the embassy with documents for an interview with the defense attaché.
Doesn't even mean that.
So even if you get past 1 and 2, now they're going to interview and make sure you're not some Rambo that lied his way through.
Yep, exactly.
Number 4, write an application for enlistment in the Territorial Defense of Armed Forces of Ukraine for military service under a contract on a volunteer basis.
Yeah,
says this is an additional to step 1.
Yeah, that's your experience and resume, and this is your cover letter for those who are not so experienced with this kind of stuff.
Number 5, receive instructions on how to arrive in Ukraine and what to bring. And this is big because Ukraine airspace is basically a no-go right now with all the combat operations there. So you can't just fly straight into Ukraine.
Yeah. This one was interesting too because they're not... How I read this is you're bringing your own gear. Like, Ukraine's not providing it. Like, you're not showing up and they're like, here, wear this, here's that. They're like, bring your stuff, bring your gear, be ready to go.
Bring your military clothing, equipment, helmet, body armor, combat gloves, tactical glasses, belts, and vests are recommended. It is not obligatory.
Yep.
But foreign soldiers in his national uniform looks good for the International Legion. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. They're wanting you to bring your stuff. Yep.
And don't dress like a Russian, because that'd be bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then it says, go to Ukraine in an organized manner. Representatives of Ukrainian embassies, consulates, and territorial defense in Ukraine will provide assistance along the way. Contacts will be provided at the Embassy of Ukraine in your country. Okay, now, Ukraine is asking for experienced combat people to come and help.
Yeah.
What they are not doing is bringing you there.
Yeah.
To enlist in Ukrainian forces. That's not what's happening.
No.
So you are basically arranging your whole way there, and they can assist you. But it's not like you can go down to the recruitment center, sign up, and then they just take you there and set you up. That is not what's happening. So this is another thing, is you have to be super dedicated to doing this, because there's a lot of steps and a lot of hoops to jump through. And like I said, it's not just going to sign up at a recruiter and going over there. There's lots of things involved in this whole thing.
I also don't see this or get a vibe that you're going to show up. They're going to be like, oh, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. Come stay at this 5-star hotel over here and do this. No, it's not one of those either. It's you're in it.
So I imagine what'll happen is, once you do finally get yourself there, they'll kind of arrange you with your experience.
Yep.
And then dictate what group you will go to, and you'll probably have some kind of Ukrainian military attaché in control of you.
Yeah.
So it's not just you running about the city with your, right? You'll be in an organized combat unit that, and that's kind of, I'm sure there's like, this is very interesting, because I don't know if this has ever happened before, other than World War II. But what they did in past wars, in World War II and World War I, is they put you in units with the same language. So, like, in World War I, when they took farm boys and that wanted to learn to fly and made them combat pilots, right? They put them into groups with the British, because they speak English and they can fairly communicate well and stuff like that. So I imagine that's kind of like, if you're Canadian or American, and there's some British, those will probably be the groups of folks together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they'll kind of organize the unit that way. I imagine you'll have an attaché, but I imagine the unit commanders and all those will be the most experienced guys in the group from wherever they're at. The Canadians or British, or like this guy that was in the article probably is going to have, a platoon or a squad or something of his own, if not a bigger role, with him being a very experienced 82nd Airborne soldier. So, but this is a serious life or death thing. A lot of people are dying over there, and you may not come back. Or if you are captured, you still may not come back, because you may end up in a Russian gulag and treated as a terrorist.
Treated as a terrorist. Very different. And I don't know how the Russians treat terrorists.
I imagine not very well. A lot less well than we do.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. And here's the other thing is in combat in general, things happen. And sometimes you don't have the same type of supply lines you would in a normal situation. So I don't know how forward they're going to put these groups, but it's possible you get kind of cut off and you don't have the same supply of food, water, ammo, medical, other things. Like, combat is a very scary situation. It's very fluid, and sometimes things can happen. There's all kinds of movies based on real stories where groups get cut off and have to kind of fend for themselves. And if that's not the kind of thing that you're used to or have the ability to adapt to, again, you become a hindrance to the group that you're with. Yeah, that's specifically why that I believe that they're asking for people that have already been in combat before, because they know those are the ones that have the ability to deal with those type of things that happen around you. People dying, small injuries, running out of ammo, when to retreat, when to move, when to, these things that you learn from experience or survival in those experience or through training. I don't know. I don't know how else to stress how serious this really is. I mean, we kind of joke about a couple of things here, but
this is a very serious,
very scary time
going on in the world right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
and for me, it kind of came out of nowhere, right? They're like, Russian people are showing on the border. They're doing this, and he kept denying it. For example, it sounded like for so long, but it's real now.
And I was reading some articles about Russian POWs that were saying that we were told this was all an exercise until it actually came to the combat. They didn't actually realize that they were going to actually do anything.
I heard something very similar too. They said that they were the article I read or something about this Russian was they were sent there and told that they would be greeted with open arms and people would be so welcoming and excited. And then before you knew it, it was a completely different atmosphere. So, yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah. So we'll put the links to these two stories in the description below. Comment. What are your guys' thoughts? I know a lot of you guys that watch the channel are veterans and stuff. And how does this? Well, what do you feel about this? If you were 20 some years old again, would you be signing up? Because I don't know. I honestly, if I hadn't, if this was 20 years ago and I wasn't married and had kids and
times are different.
I would be signing up after that. I don't know. Like it's a weird thing because in our generation, we were always going to fight the Russians. That's who we were always going to fight, right? That's what we always trained, right? It was always like it's going to be the Russian. And then now all of a sudden it's the Russians. It's like, oh God, it's like. But the funny thing about this is we've changed our military. Our military has evolved to deal with terrorists, and now all of a sudden we have a old school taking ground combat. It's I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing, and like I said from the very beginning, like a lot of people think Putin has lost it because he has put himself now between a rock and nowhere. Right?
Yeah.
He can't just stop.
No.
But yet, the farther he goes, the worse it makes it for everybody, including him.
Including him, yeah.
Because what happens at some point when the world says no, I can't think of the word. Like the Nazis. Oh, you're a war criminal now. You did something similar. Killing civilians for no reason. Like I saw a video the other day about a Russian tank running over a car full of civilians. Like, at what point does the war crimes part outrage the world and they decide that they have to take action? Because what can you do to Russia without this ending up nuclear?
That's what I think worries me the most too, is it's the nuclear part. Like when does that's the part that scares me, I guess.
Well, and that's kind of the other thing
for me.
Is what can Putin do now? Because if he stops and says, "Oh, this was all a mistake," then he looks as weak as Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he almost has no other choice but to follow through and attempt to take Ukraine.
Yes.
And if you look at history with Russia, they have failed on multiple fronts. Just look up Chechnya and see what happened there. And this could turn into a ugly, long-term thing, because if history lately has shown you anything, the terroristic hit-and-run guerrilla warfare used in Afghanistan against the Americans and NATO, used in the Vietnam War, used in Chechnya against Russia and other altercations with Russia, is unwinnable.
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine will never, ever, ever give up. And you can't exterminate a whole country. Just ask Germany.
Mm.
So
yeah, it's Crazy.
Sorry to bring this serious subject to you, but I felt like I needed to talk about it. Like I needed to discuss it as something, because as a veteran, it's a little closer to me.
Yeah.
And you know, like this article about Americans, Canadians answering the call makes me feel good to hear that.
Yeah.
And then it makes me very scared for people.
It makes me, this is not going to go away anytime soon. You know, like it's not going to be, oh, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be like, we're done. That was fun. Or that was insane, or whatever the stories may be. This is going to be a while, and it's going to affect everybody, not just people like Duck, the veterans and stuff. It's going to affect everybody. And I'm worried to, now that we've got volunteers going, I think that's amazing and it's awesome. I'm scared of what's going to happen 2 to 3 weeks from now when those volunteers are possibly now being injured, caught, and, you know, more lives. That's what scares me the most. I think that's where I'm the most concerned, because these guys are here volunteering their lives and they know it, but they're giving everything they can for something, and I'm afraid that the price, I'm afraid of the price for them. That's what makes me the most worried and scared, and there's nothing I can do about it. And they know that. I know they know that, but that's what I'm worried about hearing on the news, or hearing in 2 years from now. That's what scares me. Yes.
Yeah, the cost of this conflict will be a lot of lives, and it already has started. I don't know if it's propaganda numbers or not, but they are talking about like 9,000 Russian soldiers already.
Wow.
That's a lot of loss of life for what?
That's the question too. For what? We don't really understand or know. I don't. I have no clue. I heard it was oil. I've heard lots of stories,
and I keep reading, and everybody's got their own, because this thing is nobody really knows other than Putin. A lot of people say it's because Ukraine wants to become a democratic free group, and they want to join NATO, and then that puts them too close to the Russian border.
Yeah,
a lot of people say it's because of oil. I don't know, and I don't I think the only person that does know is Putin, and I'm not sure he's all the way there. It's this conflict's, the way he's going about it makes zero sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
And now, and I honestly think that he thought it would already be over, because just now, they are starting to bring equipment from Eastern Russia all the way across Giant Apps, Russia.
So it's almost like it wasn't planned, you know, or something. Yeah.
Like now they're like, oh God, we need these other troops and other soldiers and other equipment.
Yeah.
Which tells me that he isn't going to stop, but yet I don't think he can win.
Yeah. No, I agree.
All right. This has gone on way too long.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts and, you know, comments and fears and concerns, and what do you guys think about this? Because I'm honestly at a loss. I mean, like I said, this makes me feel good that people are trying to do this, but it's just a very scary thing, and a lot of people have already lost their lives, and it's just going to be more lives lost, and it's something that most of us, definitely myself, don't understand what this is about or why.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, be safe out there, everyone. And yeah, that's all I know how to say.
All right, much love all.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you later.